This video is about how to learn a language efficiently. Whether you're a student or professional, we're all busy people with plenty of things to do every day of the week. So there is little time to spend on languages, especially when our experience is that language learning takes a lot of time and the results are not always that good. So is there an efficient way to do this as an adult? Is it possible at all? If you're interested, stick around. But before we do that, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you. In my opinion, the knowledge of languages is one of the most valuable skills you can have. It has very practical and immediate benefits, but also in terms of how you think and how you experience the world around you. It is an absolute game changer. And I do think that knowing several foreign languages is very different from knowing just one extra language. It is not just a matter of numbers, but there is a cognitive shift somewhere along the way. The problem is that learning languages is very hard. We may learn a language for years and then are still unable to hold a simple conversation. Even if we're able to construct elaborate sentences with the subjunctive mood, such as, if I were a motivated student, I would have learned this years ago, and then put these sentences in the future tense, we may still not know how very simple things are expressed in daily life, or may not understand a conversation in a movie.
Veled akar az édesanyád beszélni.
So it is not an easy task. There are lots of books and apps out there teaching you how to learn a specific language or just teaching you about language learning in general. As for me, I don't really believe there is a way that works for everyone. I think we all need to try many of these methods and then pick the ones that work for us. My own experience with learning languages has been that I was always terrible in a classroom setting, but was able to do this relatively easily in informal settings by talking to people or reading the things that interested me. Over the years, I've tried to study all sorts of languages, but for the most part, I only succeed in learning the ones which I used for talking to people. And this was always for other reasons than wanting to learn the language. I learned efficiently either because I was forced to by being in a situation where I had no other choice, or because I myself was very eager to communicate with someone. So in those cases, I was able to make progress relatively quickly. So I learned Russian in a primary school in Moscow, starting from year 1, studying together with local kids. I did not study Russian separately, only acquired it by sitting in class studying math, physics, biology, and by playing hockey and soccer with other kids. Of course, I had no choice whatsoever. I was immersed in this new language environment day in and day out. And not being able to communicate was way more uncomfortable than speaking badly or with grammatical mistakes. Interestingly, while in Russia, I also had to learn English as a foreign language. I was getting horrible grades, and my teacher often wrote to my parents telling them that I really needed to up my game and take learning seriously. So when I was back in Hungary and I needed to pick a language to study in school, based on my horrible experiences with learning English, my parents thought it would be a good idea for me to learn French. And with that began another few years of painful suffering, of being useless at language learning. In the meantime, my parents also made me take English lessons, which were another miserable failure. And after a while, I started skipping lessons and only pretending to go to a class until I got busted. But when I was later in China as a foreign student, at first not being able to speak Chinese, I had no choice but talk English to the other foreign students. And I remember learning English very quickly. Well, after having studied it so inefficiently for many years, I guess I already must have known some English. But it was really through talking to other students around me that I learned the language properly. And in the meantime, I also had to learn Chinese, which also mostly happened outside the classroom, because I had to talk to people around me as I was buying things, traveling, running errands. And it was a lot of fun doing it that way. I remember being able to mail a letter for the first time was a major step, and I felt euphoric having accomplished it. But I'm not going to tell you the story of my life and the story of me learning languages. The important thing is that my experience is probably not the same as everyone else's. Yet I'm sure that there are also people like me who are infinitely better at picking up languages in real-life situations and are not good at learning them in a formal setting. I of course realize that for me also, the real difference is not in the setting, but in whether I persist in applying myself to the learning task, or get bored or run out of time, and then stop making progress. because I also had to learn dead languages, such as classical Chinese, which again did not work when I was studying it in a classroom, but only when I had to use it in my own project, which did not focus on learning the language itself. So for me personally, it seems the most efficient way of learning a language is by staying away as far as possible from this whole language learning process. Instead, what I find much more useful is just to jump in at the deep end and try to use the language as if I already knew it and work my way through it on my own. And that means first being really bad at it and then gradually catching up and making progress. And then, as a second step, I can go back and learn some rules, which will be useful for the knowledge I already have, as I can use them to organize and make sense of the data I have in my head. Again, this might not work for everyone, but I'm sure that there are people for whom it will. I guess it depends on your personality, on how organized you are with learning, how well you learn in a classroom, but also on how tolerant you are of being uncomfortable initially, how much it bothers you that you're really bad at something. But if I had to advise the 18-year-old myself on how to learn languages efficiently, I would say that I should forget about learning the language in class and seek out real-life situations where I could just use the language to do something fun. And I should never make learning the language a goal in itself. Instead, to learn French, I should go to a judo club in France and practice there. Or if I cannot go to France, I should find some French-speaking people and become friends with them. Or pick up a hobby or interest, start reading about the French Foreign Legion or the history of French Orientalism, anything that's not about learning the language itself. The idea is that I would be using the language to do something else, and learning the language would not be the main goal, but the means to accomplish something else, which is of intrinsic interest to me. In retrospect, I think the most important thing for learning languages is being exposed to them, spending time on them. So anything that makes you want to spend more time on working with that language will benefit you learning that language. So the most important principle is to put in the time. It is really not about how talented you are, how good your memory or brain is, but how much focused time you spend on it. In general, the important thing is exposure. You need to be exposed to that language for extended periods of time. Okay, that's all I wanted to say about learning languages today. Hope it was useful. Let me know if you have any comments or if there are topics you would like me to talk about. Thank you for watching and see you next time.